Alright, hello and welcome, fellow users of the internet. My name is Noah, and you're watching Asphodel Merchants. Alright, here it is. Hopefully you already saw our Lord of the Rings sealed tier list for black, and we're back at it again with red. I'll just give you a quick overview again. A-pluses are really good cards that help you win the game and will save you from losing the game all the time. They're cards that draw you into a color. A is pretty much the same thing. Strong removal and strong rares. B is good cards that you're pretty happy about being in a color and having in your deck. C is your bread and butter curve fillers that you're just going to have a functional deck of Magic cards. D are cards that are maybe begrudgingly playable. You really don't want to have too many of these. And F's are cards that you should actively avoid. They should never make your deck. And first off, we're going to start with Battle Scar Goblin. One colorless and a red for a creature Goblin Warrior. It's a 2/2, and whenever Battle Scarred Goblin becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to each creature blocking it. Good card. It is a C. It is a good 2-drop. You're going to need these to make your deck work. It's a C. It's a card you're happy to have. Alright, next we have the Book of Mazar Bool. Yeah. 2 colorless and a red for a saga. Chapter 1, amass 1 orcs. Chapter 2, amass orcs 2. And then Chapter 3, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain menace until in turn. On 6, that's going to be a pretty powerful ability. If you play a good 4/4 after this and they don't interact with it, they're just pretty much going to be dead by the time this goes off. Book is for B. Alright. Breaking of the Fellowship. 1 colorless and a red for a sorcery. Target creature an opponent controls deals damage equal to its power to another target creature that players control. The rings tempts you. I am going to put this in C. And you're going to say to yourself, well, Noah, didn't you say that removal spells are A's and are high B's? Well, they are sometimes, but this one not particularly, and I'll explain why. Whenever a creature an opponent controls deals damage equal to its power to another target creature, what's going to result is their weaker creature is going to die and their stronger creature is going to get to live. There are some caveats. Maybe if you get lucky and your opponent has a Death Toucher and another big creature, you'll get to 2-for-1 them. Stranger things have happened, but a lot of the time the card's just not going to line up quite that right, and you're not going to get rid of the card that's actively killing you. So it's a really bad card when you're behind. All in all, though, it's got enough stuff on it. The ring tempting you. I could see scenarios where you play this card, kill their small thing that can block your ring bearer, and then they either can't block it with their bigger creature, or if they do, now they're going to have to lose their larger creature as well. So I'm going to put it in C right now, and if you disagree, prove me wrong. Next up is Cast in the Fire. 1 colorless and a red for an instant. Choose one. Cast into the fire deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 creatures. Good old twin shot. And or you can exile target artifact. This is a D. You might put it in your deck. Maybe it'll be okay in your sideboard if your opponent has a lot of X1s, but otherwise, this card's just not impressive. This is not really what we're wanting to do with 2 mana. Display of Power. Colorless and red for an instant. This spell can't be copied. Copy any number of target instant and or sorcery spells. You may choose new targets for those copies. I'm going to put this in C because it is power level. I would almost put this in D for display of power, because if you don't have an instant sorcery and you draw this card's actually textless. It does nothing, doesn't block, doesn't attack. It's really a non-starter. But it is very powerful, and somehow if you can copy one of your first pick removal spells, it's going to be pretty cool. Or I guess somehow if you're really amazing and are able to play a 1-drop and play a 2-drop and put them both on the stack and then cast Display of Power, you were probably already going to win that game anyway, but we'll see. See? Yeah. Alright, but now we have Eomir, Marshal of Rohan, 2 colorless and red with haste. Whenever 1 or more other attacking legendary creatures you control die, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. I think we've got our first A+. Really love this card. 4 mana, 4/4 haste is pretty close to getting there. Being a legendary creature is very relevant. Being a human is relevant in this limited format. And if they either can't block one of their better trades on one of your smaller legends, because you should be able to have plenty of legends, including your ring bearer. But if they can't make those trades, then you're just getting in for extra damage. Or if you're somehow really lucky and can sacrifice one of your legendary creatures in combat, ooh baby, we might be doing it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give Eomir an A+. I might be overvaluing it. It might just be an A, but it's definitely not just a B. It's either an A or an A+. Alright, next up we've got Fear, Fire, Foes. X and a red. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Fear, Fire, Foes deals X damage to target creature and 1 damage to each other creature with the same controller. This card is amazing. It is our A. I could almost be talked into A+. Worse comes to worse. This is 1 red. Damage can't be prevented. Choose target creature your opponent controls and deal 1 damage to everything else. And that's an amazing card. I think you play that a lot of the times. And this can also just kill their biggest creature and kill everything with 1 toughness or less. Amazing card. Love Fear, Fire, Foes. Alright, next up we've got Fiery Inscription. 2 colorless and a red for an enchantment. When Fiery Inscription enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Fiery Inscription deals 2 damage to each opponent. So, I am going to give this a B. And the reason is the blue-red archetype seems to be wanting you to cast a lot of cheap instants and sorceries. I think there's lots of fodder and firepower for that deck, and this card then kills them, because you're going to have some opponent who's like, yeah, I've got all kinds of removal spells, I'm ready to get into this late game and find my bomb. You're going to resolve Fire Inscription, and they'll be like, crap, because it's going to kill them pretty hard. So that's why I'm giving Fire Inscription a B. Cast it, good luck. Alright, next up we've got Fire of Ornthok. 3 colorless and a red for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact or land. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. F. This kind of card's always bad. Destroying an artifact or a land for 4 mana is never effective, and just attacking on a creature with flying can't block this turn is almost pure flavor text. Next up we have Foray of Orcs. 3 colorless and a red for a sorcery. Amass Orcs 2. When you do, Foray of Orcs deals X damage to target creature and opponent controls, where X is the amassed creature's power. I think I'm going to go ahead and give this an A. This is almost a Flame Tongue Kavu, just 4 mana, make it 2/2, deal 2 damage to something else. Or if you've already got an Orc in play, if you were to somehow have this be a 3/3 that dealt 3 damage to theirs, or somehow 4/4, oh my gosh, this card's really good. Like, you're going to cast and you're going to be happy with it as long as your opponent has creatures on the battlefield, which they probably will. So, Foray of Orcs is an A. Alright, we have Gimli, Counter of Kills. 3 colorless and a red for a legendary creature, Dwarf Warrior. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, Gimli, Counter of Kills, deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. I'm just going to give this Gimli a B. 4 mana, 4/3, tramples some pretty good stats, and this ability isn't flavor text, but 3 toughness is not all that amazing, and it doesn't do anything immediately as it comes in. You're going to be happy enough with Gimli when you cast it, but it's nothing to write home about. Alright, next up we have Gimli's Axe, 2 colorless and red for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+0. As long as equipped creature is legendary, it has Menace, equipped 2. It's a D. It is begrudgingly playable. There are a couple of rares that care about equipment, and maybe if you have one of those, this card will perform a little bit better, but otherwise, you're just not looking to spend 5 mana total just for these, to add these words to the text of your cards. You can be doing better things. Alright, Gimli's Fury, 1 colorless and a red. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. If it's a legend, it also gains trample until end turn. We are also going to give Gimli's Fury a D. It can help you win some combats. This card just isn't that amazing. Combat tricks have gotten a lot worse in Modern Limited. Alright. Gloin, Dwarf Emissary. Legendary creature, Dwarf Advisor. Whenever you cast a historic spell, create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Artifacts, legends, and sagas are historic. Sacrifice a treasure, goad target creature until your next turn. That creature attacks each combat if able and attacks player other than you if able. Don't know why they're putting commander keywords in a modern set, but whatever. Glowing Dwarf Emissary, I think is, if I gave Gimli a B, maybe I'm only going to give Glowing a yeah, because it only triggers once each turn. If this was you just got to go off, like with Bergie, you know, I'd be pretty impressed. But, you know, having to have another spell to just get like 1 mana to use later is nothing amazing. And I'm not sure how many times you're going to want to be tapping your 3/3, getting rid of your own resource to make your opponent attack you. Like, not a huge fan of going to see. All right, next up, Goblin Fire Leaper. I think I'm gonna go ahead and give it an A, maybe just a B. Well, we'll read it again, and I'm gonna think about it. Colorless and a red for a creature, Goblin Warrior. Colorless and a red for Goblin Fire Leaper. It gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When Goblin Fire Leaper dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Maybe I'll give it an A. If you can augment this thing's power, it just becomes almost strictly unblockable. You can 2-for-1 your opponents a lot of the times. This card is really powerful, but it's only a creature, it doesn't kill them specifically. I'm going to leave it an A right now. I could change my mind. It might, maybe a little bit of failings, like I said. Just, unfortunately, this format doesn't look very good with more than 6 tiers. It doesn't look all that great now. So maybe it's just a very B plus or a very A minus, but for right now we're just going to put it in A. Alright, Grishmak Brash Instigator. When this card enters the battlefield, amass Orcs 2 when you do until end of turn, gain control of target non-legendary creature an opponent controls with power less than or equal to the amassed army's power. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. A. Bordering A+. This card's amazing. Just like being able to make a 1/1, being able to put 3 power onto the battlefield and then essentially threaten 2, you know, getting a free almost claim the force burn out of it. It's just really good. And if it is, if you've already got a decent sized orc army onto the battlefield and are able to steal a bigger creature, full baby. And on top of that, being in red, some of the red, I don't think any of the red cards sacrifice a creature, but some of the black cards do. And if you were able to somehow steal one of their creatures smaller than your orc and then sacrifice it, you're going to be doing pretty good. A for the Brash Instigator. Haradrim Spearmaster, 2 colorless and a red for a creature. It's a human warrior with reach. It's a 2/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end turn. Very good. I think this would be a C+ if I had a C+ category, but otherwise it's just C. You're going to be happy enough to have this 3-drop in your deck. It's pretty good. Alright. Hue of the Entwood, 3 colorless, 2 red. I'll read the whole thing for whatever reason. Sacrifice any number of lands. Reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of land sacrificed this way. Choose any number of target artifacts and or land cards revealed this way. Put all non-land cards chosen this way onto the battlefield. That just means the artifacts you find. Then put all land cards chosen this way onto the battlefield tap. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. This card is the F'est of F. It is F-. Please do not put this card in your limited deck. If you do, you will lose, and you will deserve it. This card is terrible. I'm not quite going to take all the time to explain all the reason why this is terrible. Because, like, on 5 mana, you're going to try to spike off real hard and sacrifice X lands. That way you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library and then put that same number of lands tapped, and then put all the artifacts into play for free. But the problem is, I don't know if you've looked at the artifacts in this set, but they're all trash. Or at least most of them aren't very good. Like, best case scenario, somehow, you hew the Entwood and find the 1 ring that you've got in your deck, or the orb, but then you just sacrifice 5 lands and maybe only found 1, and now you're stuck on 1 mana, and you're not going to be able to do anything, and your opponent's going to kill you. This card sucks. It's an F. Don't put it in your deck. Alright, next we have Improvised Club. 1 colorless and a red. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or a creature, deals 4 damage to any target. A+. This card is just that good of a removal spell. It can also deal 4 damage to your opponent, which is a huge deal. You should, in red, have plenty of 1/1 human creatures, tokens to sacrifice Goblin Leaper, sacrifice a small army or something, sacrifice even just a treasure token or a food token. Not much of an additional cast at all, and it's just always going to be great. It's always going to either kill a relevant creature that's making problems for you, or just kill your opponent. A+, Improvised Club, great card. Right, next up, we have Moria Marauder. Am I going to just go ahead and give this card a D? 2 red. It's a Goblin Warrior. It's got double strike. Whenever a Goblin or Orc you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. The problem, and the reason I think I'm just going to give this a D, is that a 1/1 double striker just dies to their 2-drop. You're going to want to, you're going to cast it on turn 2, and they're going to play some pooper. You're going to attack into it, and it's going to die. I'm not super impressed with this card. The joke is it's got double strike, so you always get 2 cards whenever it deals combat damage to your opponent, but it's just not good. It's funny, because like Battle Scar Goblin, just like can't be blocked by 1 toughness creatures, but this barely cares at all. This is still blocked by them. I think it's just a D. You could maybe make it a C- or a C regular, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. Alright, next up we have Oliphant. And I think it's going to be a B. I think I might have rated the Blackland Cycler higher, but this one's still really good. If you wanted to put it in A, you probably wouldn't be wrong. 5 colorless and a red for creature. It's an elephant. It's a 6/4. It has trample. Whenever it attacks, another target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. And it's got mountain cycling. 1 colorless. Discard this. Search your library for a mountain card. Reveal it. Put it in your hand. Then shuffle. Card's really good. If you don't have the mana to cast it, you can search up a mountain if you're stuck on lands, or if you've got a little land flood, you just go ahead and cast it as 6/4. It's going to be good when you do that. I think a reason why I would have it in B instead of A, at least in red, is if you're not in red-black, you're not going to have any synergies to get it back out of your graveyard like black does. And I think that's going to be mostly the reason why I'm just going to have it in a B category for red. But it's still really good. I think you would play almost any number of these in any red deck. Oleg High Crusher. Do I just put this in C? I guess it's still a C. It's a very good C. Oleg High Crusher, 3 colorless and a red for a creature troll soldier. It's 4/4 with trample, and it can't block unless you control a goblin or an orc. Funnily enough, you're going to have a goblin or an orc in most of your red decks, but you're also not going to want to block with this card because you're just going to try and use it to kill your opponent because it's a 4/4 trampler. I would almost put this in B, but maybe not quite. Doesn't do all that much special stuff to write home about, but a lot of the days in some limited games, all you're going to need is a 4-mana 4/4 trample. You'll be happy enough with it. Quarrel's End. As an additional cast to cast this spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards, create a 1/1 white human soldier token. I'm going to put Quarrel's End in D. Tacking on an extra mana to thrill a possibility. Well, not thrill. Tormenting Voice. Yeah, that's the sorcery version. Making this be a sorcery, it costs 3 mana. You only get 1 human soldier token and the same old 2 cards. The red-blue decks that just want you to kind of spin your wheels and do some stuff and live just a little bit longer to keep casting more spells will like it, but it's kind of it. I'm not super impressed with this card at all, and neither should you. Rally at the Hornburg is a really good C. It's not that good of a maybe. Well, Rally at the Hornburg. 1 colorless and a red. Create 2 1/1 white human soldier. Creature tokens. Humans you control gain haste until end of turn. I could maybe see some arguments for this being a B level 2-drop. Not quite. Making humans is very relevant. Them having haste is really good. You just attack for 2 on turn 2. And humans trigger a decent amount of stuff in the archetypes. It's a pretty good magic card. You're going to be happy enough putting it in your deck. I say that maybe a little too much. Ranger's Firebrand, however, I'm going to give this an A+. What are my other A pluses still? Yeah, I think we got room in A+ for Ranger's Firebrand. Ranger's Firebrand deals 2 damage to any target. The ring tempts you. It's just super efficient. If I could play a deck with 17 Ranger's Firebrands in it, I would. Absolutely 0 diminishing returns. It's still good enough late because your opponent, might be dying, and then you get to kill them with this. Or now you get to advance your Ring Bearer up to the final level and get in for a great combat. Love me some Ranger's Firebrand. Good card, A+. Get plenty of these and play red. It's really good. Alright, Relentless Roarheim. I think it's still fine as a C. 3 colorless and a red for a human knight. It's 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Yeah, it's a card you're going to need some days. I could maybe see myself putting in D. What are my other Ds? You've got other Ds that we'll look at, I think. Nah, maybe we'll put this in D. Alright, next up we have Rising of the Day. Again, I think this card is also a D. 2 colorless and a red. Enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. Legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. Fervor is not historically a very powerful card in almost any format, unless you're trying to do some kind of silly combo, but that's normally not very necessary. And legendary creatures you control getting +1/+0 is kind of irrelevant. So yeah, D for Rising of the Day. Roarheim Lancer. I'm going to leave this card in... No, wait a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put this card in B, I think. It's a human knight, very relevant. It's got menace, and when it dies, the ring tempts you. So first of all, this is a really good ring bearer since it has menace and is only 1 power. It makes it a very hard ring bearer to block, and so if you can, get tempted by the ring and get it up to level 4, and then this should close out a game like that pretty quickly. But then again, if they do find a way to kill it, which... if they find a way to kill it, then you get to, have the ring tempt you and make one of the other creatures better. The funny thing is that if you can make this your ring bearer and make them have to use a removal spell on just your 1/1 Menacer that has a die ability, that's going to be pretty cool. So I think I'm going to give a B to Roarheim Lancer. Good 1-drop. Rush the Room. A D. Because it's an instant, and target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. If it's a goblin or an orc, it also gains haste until end of turn. Not a very effective card. This +1/+0 and first strike ability, we've seen it in a lot of other limited formats. It's kind of an underperformer. Not really worth it. Don't put it in your deck. Smite the Deathless, however, is an A. It's mega good. 1 colorless and a red for an instant. Smite the Deathless deals 3 damage to target creature. That creature loses indestructible until end of turn. If a creature that would die this turn, exile instead. It's amazing. It's a first pickle removal spell. If you get enough of these, they're a really good reason to go ahead and play red in your limited deck. Love me some Smite the Deathless. It's a good magic card. Spite. Spite begins strife. Not how that saying goes. X and red for Spiteful Banditry. It's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X, where X is the amount you spend to each creature. Whenever one or more creature your opponent's control dies, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Card's really good. You put this in your deck, and if it turns out you're not winning, you just go ahead and wipe the board and try and start over and start getting to a top deck more with your opponent. If you're a more controlling deck, you use this to reset their clock, slow them down, and give you time to find your good spells. And getting any treasures off this is always amazing. It's an A+. It's a great reason to be in red. Spiteful Banditry. Alright, just a few cards left. Swarming of Moria. It's a C, but it's a really good C. I could almost put this into B, but not quite. Create a treasure token, amass orcs 2. I think we saw a card like this in the D&D set, which was just a 2/2, make a treasure, and that card overperformed, and I think this card will too. There and back again, I think will be our last A. I feel like there should be more Bs in this. I could probably downgrade some of these to B, but... Yeah. There and back again. Up to 1 target creature can't block for as long as you control. There and back again. 2, search your library for a mountain card, and then finally make a 6/6 flying dragon. With when this creature dies, create 14 treasure tokens. I think this card's very silly. Do I actually want to put this in A? It does still make a 6/6 flyer on turn 7. Target creature not being able to block on turn 5 is still very relevant. It knocks their best blocker out for 3 turns. And then finding a mountain should probably already be okay on lands on turn 6 after you've cast this 5 mana, but it could help. Enough of this all comes together to being a card that's relatively powerful and will win you some games. So A for this card. I feel like I should move one of these down into B. Let's just go ahead and say that Foray of Orcs, Grishnak, or Goblin Fire Leaper could maybe one be a B, but I'm not sure which one. And then we have War Beast of Gorgoroth, 4 colorless and a red for a 5/4. Whenever it or another creature you control power 4 or greater dies, amass Orcs 2. So it's a 5/4 that dies into a 2/2. It's an okay Magic card. And that, at 25 minutes marks, rolls up red. I'm gonna... No, it's not what I'm gonna hit. Save or download. Download. You guys didn't have to watch this part, sorry. Alright, perfect. Okay, well, that is the end. Maybe I'll do it down like this so you guys can see it a little bit better. Well, not like that. Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah, that's all our A pluses and things into one. Yeah, Fire, Ornithek, and Hue of Entwoods are the only 2 Fs, so here's everything else that's relevant. I'll post the other thing as the thumbnail. Go back and watch the set review Black. Hopefully I'll do right and put the card here, or finally maybe make an end screen. Should be having white going up soon. No, not white. I think I'm going to make green next. Yeah, we're going to do Warburg order, but I'm going to start in black. Black, this is red, and then I'll do green next. We'll do all the other ones. Like the video if you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you would please, and share the video if you've got the time. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much. Goodbye.